So we're reading from today, my first bestseller, Thank God He's Gone, The Smart Woman's Guide to Get Back Your Personal Power, Reclaim Your Confidence. Thank you for everybody who continues to buy the book. No men were bashed, berated, or beaten up in the writing of this book. It is purely a leadership book for us gals, a how to take control of your own life, how to lead your own life, how to take your power back and live your best life for you, regardless of who you're with. So here it is. Thank you for continuing to buy it. By the way, if you want a copy, send me a DM and I will happily arrange to get a copy to you. You pay for the books, $20, and I will pay for the postage wherever it is in the world. So today we are reading from chapter 6. Never usually know the chapter. Chapter 6, How to Forgive Yourself and Why It's Important. Forgiveness is the key to what? The Smart Woman says, forgiveness is the key to happiness. Should I forgive you? How can I forgive you? Why would I forgive you? When I first heard this, I'm like, no way am I forgiving him. Not a chance. He is and needs to pay for what he did. That was my quote. I think forgiveness is one of the biggest obstacles we face as humans. One of the biggest obstacles we put in our own way as people. Now, as a therapist, I also know we have people head into forgiveness way too soon and they go, yeah, I've forgiven him, and they haven't. Do your work on, this is a total side thing here, do your work on you so when you do get to forgiveness, you realise there's nothing to forgive because they didn't do anything to you anyway. They did the things that worked for them in a way that worked for them, and you are just secondary. Sounds terrible, but it's true. So when you get to forgiveness, no, there's nothing to forgive, but do your own work on the journey. So worth it. So in my private sessions, the aim is always to help the client to release the emotions that are stored in the body. Of all the emotions we work with, forgiveness does seem to be the most difficult. However, it is also the most important. Now, forgiveness is often viewed as letting the other person off the hook. If I forgive him for what he did to me, it means that what he did doesn't matter, or that it wasn't important, or it wasn't the most horrible and shitty thing she could have said to me. If I forgive her, if I forgive them, it means they will do it again. None of these are quite true. I've used some of the strong, dark emotions such as anger, hatred, and bitterness as poison for my body. I also think these emotions play a big part in disease, dis-ease, and illnesses. When I held onto these emotions and they played out in my daily dialogue, I was also tense and I was stressed and I was cranky. It seemed like nothing ever went my way. Everything that could go wrong felt like it was going wrong, and I blamed my holding on to these dark emotions and keeping them stuck in my body. Emotions have energy. They are energy. They are intended to move through us, not get stuck in us and play on repeat, sometimes for years. What would it take for you to get to some sort of forgiveness? And I mean true forgiveness. Not the forgiveness that I had for years, which I talked about, which translated into me just not thinking about him anymore or thinking about her. I ignored how I felt, what he had done to me, what they had done to me, and how it made me feel and how it made me react. The toxic blame games. The Smart Woman says the blame game robs you of all of your choices. Remember, this book is about you, not about him, not about them. It's about you. The most toxic game that any of us can play is the blame game. Some of us play the blame game for years and years after a breakup or an interaction with someone. Sometimes the blame game stays firmly front and centre of our mind. And it's a daily conversation where thoughts and triggers pop into our heads. For many of us, it's a more subtle version where the occasional thought trips us up. For others, it is so firmly implanted in our unconscious that we don't even realise how much it affects us and how it affects our confidence and how it affects our self-worth. It becomes the ingrained dialogue, and we accept that's just the way it is. The blame game is simple. You play the victim. I know that's really hard to hear, and I know at this point in time some of you will have closed the book or turned off the video, but trust me, it really is when you're playing the victim, and you don't have to. When you hang out in the blame game, you are forgetting all the choices that you have and how much control you actually do have over your own thoughts and your own emotions. You are allowing someone else's shitty behavior to determine your quality of your life. That's not okay anymore. And yes, I do know that some people have to escape the most horrible, horrible circumstances to break free. And I appreciate, I truly do, that those relationships can leave very deep scars. I work for charity, I get it, I work with those people. Don't discount that I don't understand, I do. But why would you want to allow that person to suck another second of your life from you? Wouldn't you rather finally kick that dude to the curb, even if it's only metaphorically? I know you would. Getting to a place of forgiveness is the answer. Now, before you start wanting to burn the book, stick with me. I couldn't care less whether you forgive him or not, or her, whoever did it. Couldn't care less. It doesn't matter to me. But what does matter to me is you. I want to help you to get to a place of forgiving yourself. I don't care about the other person. Self-forgiveness is what this is about, not them. And here is the tough love. Until we can truly forgive ourselves for the part that we played in that relationship, we are never truly free, and we can never feel the exhilaration of living from our own congruence. In every relationship, we played a part. We did. There are two people in every relationship, and no matter how thin you slice it, there are always two sides. Whether you choose to be dragged along by another person's actions or whether you're an active participant, you chose. Own that. You chose. I know for some of you this is incredibly hard to admit, depending on the nature of that relationship and how it actually ended. Hey, Deb Lee, reading from the book. We choose to stay or we choose to leave. We choose to give another person a chance. We choose to ignore our gut instinct. We choose to make it work for as long as we can. We choose to try our very, very best to make things work. We choose to give it our all. We choose to flee. We choose to ignore the changes in his or her behaviour. We choose to make excuses. We choose to get involved with another person. We choose to go along with him because it's easier. We choose to do it for the kids. We choose to stay where there is violence or abuse. We choose to abide by our vows we made. We choose to stay because the other payoffs are worth it. We choose to honour our religion. We choose to do anything and everything except the one thing we now know we should have done. We didn't stand in our own personal power. So step one, let's own it now. We chose. Again, I know it's super hard to hear, and often it's hard to admit, and I know how hard it was for me. To admit to myself the actions I took to make my family safe were tough, but I still chose them. Admitting I chose to have sex with my drunk husband regularly so he would fall asleep just to protect my sons was so incredibly hard. I felt like a failure. I felt like an idiot, and I felt like a really weak woman. But the first step in healing myself from my own guilt, my shame, and all of that punishment was to admit that I chose. I'm inviting you now to make a commitment to yourself to heal from this in the best way I know how, and that is through forgiveness of yourself. This is the pathway to finally being free of every part of that past relationship. This is your ticket to letting that shit go once and for all. Smart Woman's Guide to Reclaim Your Confidence, Get Back Your Personal Power. As I said, if you want to copy the book, I've got some here at home. You pay for the book, it's $20 Australian. I will pay for the postage wherever it is in the world. And if you want it signed, I'm going to sign it for you. So much love to everyone.